2022, she was given this to put on for this photo shoot. And basically the story is New York Post on its famous gossip page 6 reporting yesterday, I believe it was, that she walked off with it. She just walked off with it. And she's been confronted with this, basically saying, as we say in Britain, did you nick that dress? Did you steal it? Did you steal it?
She walked into Paris Fashion Week uninvited, and chaos followed fast. She showed up wearing a brand that had just faced backlash over children-themed ad controversy, then reportedly bumped heads with the designer on camera. As if that wasn't enough, a British actress appeared to freeze her out mid-conversation, and then came the moment that shocked people even more. Filming herself driving past the tunnel where Princess Diana died and posting it on Instagram like it was some casual Tuesday outing, all in 1 week.
Clothing worn by members of the royal family and other public figures has been targeted for resale in the past, making the practice both common and precautionary. So basically, Meghan saying, I hate my diehard fans that would want to buy something I wore. I mean, she's blaming the fans that would want to buy something she wore.
And somehow, that still doesn't crack the top 3 today. Here are 10 reasons the fashion world seems completely fed up with Meghan Markle. And at the end, we're breaking down, by outfit, the 10 worst things she has ever worn. One comment nailed it perfectly. She has this wild ability to make luxury designer pieces look cheap and tacky. By the end of this, you'll see exactly how she pulls that off, and what every fashion lover can learn from each style disaster. Stay with me, because number 1 is unbelievable. Number 10, she kept the dress. Here's how fashion loans are supposed to work. Royals can't accept gifts because of conflict concerns. What they can do is borrow. A designer sends over a piece, you wear it, they get exposure, and then you return it quickly in perfect shape. Simple deal. But critics say Meghan doesn't always play by those rules.
This rather bulky column dress, this looks a little intense. I feel like this doesn't fit her very well. And she's doing that, here's that aggressive slicked back hairstyle. And you can see here how it makes her face, it's just less flattering to her face to have that aggressive of a slicked back hairstyle. It's also not always the best option if you have a particularly long face or a particularly wide, round face.
Insiders claimed showrooms even built in what they call Meghan buffer time. Extra days added onto loan periods just because delays were expected. Imagine being known for that. Then came the $1,700 Galvan gown loaned for a variety shoot in 2020. But 2 months later, the same gown popped up again in her Netflix trailer, and that set off major talk. Page 6 claimed she walked off with it. Her team slammed that as categorically false, but fashion insiders had their own opinions. One comment put it brutally: not returning loaned clothes is called stealing. Harsh. But that kind of talk spreads fast in fashion circles. Designers talk, stylists talk, showrooms talk. And for years, whispers have followed the same warning. Don't lend her anything you expect to get back. Once that becomes your reputation, invitations start drying up fast. Number 9, the wrinkle problem. In high fashion, showing up in wrinkled clothes is almost like showing up drunk.
Online. And here's just a fun backstory. Meghan went to the Balenciaga show in Paris.
That was interesting.
Where they had to apologize recently for inappropriate ads involving children holding teddy bears with bondage costumes on. So predatory behavior from Balenciaga. There's Meghan Markle elbowing her way to the front row. And then a few days later, she's going to go accept an award in New York for protecting children. Again, I would say to you, make it make sense.
It sends a message that the designer's work means nothing to you. And we're not talking about one tiny crease here. We're talking coats looking crushed like they've been shoved in the bottom of a bag for hours. And with her fabric choices and schedule, that may be exactly what happened. She keeps leaning towards silks, thin cottons, loose unstructured fabrics. Beautiful materials, sure, but terrible choices when you've been sitting in a car for 40 minutes before a public event. That's where people draw comparisons to Catherine, Princess of Wales, whose heavy knits and structured wool pieces have been photographed thousands of times, looking polished every single time. That isn't luck. That's strategy. Even Meghan's wedding dress, the most photographed dress of her life, sparked talk because viewers noticed visible wrinkles on the day. A former Mulberry creative director even pointed it out publicly, and critics kept repeating the same thing, with reports of huge spending on clothing in 2018 and steamers costing almost nothing.
It's been revealed that Meghan Markle actually invited herself to this Paris Fashion Week show earlier this month. Now, the Balenciaga designer has claimed that she reached out and she said she would love to come to the show.
People saw this less as an accident and more as a choice. Then number 8, critics say she struggles to read a room. Take Smart Works, the charity helping unemployed women dress for job interviews and build confidence. Meghan arrived in a reportedly £2,600 Oscar de la Renta coat, oversized by several sizes, wrinkled paired with bold cow print shoes, at an event centered around women who often can't afford professional wardrobes. People noticed. The coat had no buttons, no belt, just hanging open with sleeves swallowing her hands. Then inside, she took it off and wore a t-shirt dress, while nearly everyone else in the room wore long sleeves. That alone sparked chatter. But critics pointed to even heavier moments, including an event for bereaved parents who had lost children to online harm, where some felt her styling and tone missed the emotional weight of the room. And that's the bigger claim people keep making. It's not always just the clothes. It's the timing, the message, and the mismatch that stir controversy. She was the host. She was supposed to set the tone for the room. But critics exploded over what she wore, an off-the-shoulder look at an event with grieving parents who had lost children because of online harm. One comment summed up the backlash brutally.
Now, look, it's not being received well, certainly not as well as maybe she would have hoped, with some people labelling it a Zoolander walk. What are your thoughts?
It's really difficult when looking at these pictures to really even reconcile what's happening, like a real ball gown. So it doesn't really fit with the setting either. They're outside, walking in the grass. It looks out of place to the backdrop.
The off-the-shoulder cocktail pantsuit to meet parents of children who have died because of online hate. Unbelievably tasteless. That reaction spread fast. Because when you walk into a room full of mourning families dressed in a way people feel pulls attention, many notice within seconds. And critics argue once the focus shifts to your outfit instead of the reason everyone came, you've made yourself the story. And that's the exact opposite of what a host is supposed to do. Number 7, the Balenciaga disaster. October, Paris Fashion Week, cameras everywhere, front row attention locked in. And then came the claim that she wasn't officially invited. Reports said creative director Pierpaolo Piccioli confirmed she had reached out herself asking to attend, and he agreed. That sparked explosive headlines, including one framing it as Meghan inviting herself to Paris Fashion Week. And then there was the bigger controversy, the brand she aligned with. Balenciaga had just faced one of the worst image crises in fashion after issuing public apologies over a campaign involving children and disturbing themed imagery. The backlash was already nuclear. And then she walked right into that storm smiling for cameras. Then the viral moment started rolling in.
Royals who go out, they have a lot of discussion. They have weeks of studying it and what's appropriate and what isn't. But one of the things I think is that her behaviour, looking like that, so inappropriate, will sort of slide down to affect the royal family because they had so much that was royal. You know, they're going from one thing to another.
Videos had people claiming she nearly headbutted the designer during a greeting. Another clip showed Dame Kristin Scott Thomas appearing to turn away mid-conversation, and social media ran wild with theories. The internet had a field day, with some mocking her entrance as a Zoolander walk, while one commenter said she looked like she knew she was out of her depth and was trying to hide it. Brutal! And then things got even messier. People dug up an Instagram story filmed from a car window passing the Alma Tunnel, where Princess Diana died. That set off another storm online. Commentators speculated, reactions exploded, and while her team reportedly said she didn't know where the car was at the time, the damage online was already done. And once the internet grabs an image, nuance disappears fast. This was supposed to be a fashion comeback moment, a big return. Instead, Critics say it turned into a spectacle people laughed at, and the loudest part of the story wasn't the fashion, it was that she allegedly showed up uninvited in the first place. Number 6. The tailoring trap. Here's something most people don't realise. When a showroom lends you a fashion sample, you usually can't alter it. It has to go back exactly as it came. If the waist sits 2 inches too wide, it stays that way. If the hem drags across the floor, it drags. That's the rule.
Dee, she allegedly took the dress from the shoot without asking. Surely that can't be right.
Both the bra and the outfit are too tight. You can see everything. It's not just distracting, it just doesn't look good. It looks awful, unprofessional. She's really quite lean in this area, especially during this time. She was real skinny. And so some people would have had a serious difficulty getting a smooth look right there with a strapless, like myself.
Critics say this has often worked against Meghan. At 5'6" with a shorter torso, sample sizing reportedly doesn't always land right for her proportions. So waistlines can sit off, hems can pool, shoulders can drift, and if it's borrowed, there's little room to fix it. That's where people compare her approach to Catherine's, where pieces repeatedly worn are often believed to be purchased outright and tailored down to the millimetre. Same coat, years apart, same exact fit. That's not accidental. That's precision. Industry insiders have put it bluntly. Securing loans for controversial figures can be, as one person said, like getting blood from a stone. And some say designers have quietly started backing away. After what we covered in number 10, some in fashion say that hesitation makes perfect sense. Number 5, use today, gone tomorrow. In fashion, long-term designer partnerships are gold. That's when a label knows your body before you even arrive. They cut pieces with you in mind. They call you first. But that kind of loyalty is built over years. Critics argue Meghan has never locked in one lasting fashion alliance. British designers once linked to her during the royal years reportedly cooled off. American labels had their moment, then seemed to move on.
Bodycon stuff that's really, really tight because it kind of makes it just look like you have a bit of a pooch.
Australian brands pushed heavily during the tour years. Same story, according to critics. Yes, people talk about the Meghan effect, where pieces she wears sell out fast. That phenomenon exists. But insiders argue it only has power if she keeps supporting the brand. If she wears something Monday and moves on by Tuesday, the momentum can disappear by Wednesday, and brands that invested are left with a few photos, and maybe a hard lesson. That's one criticism fashion watchers keep repeating. She uses a house today, then discards it tomorrow, and they say the industry has noticed. Invitations, some claim, have gotten much quieter. And then there's number 4, the copycat problem. Silhouettes critics say echo Diana herself. Then there's the copycat criticism, and this one gets intense. Critics have pointed to styling choices, they say, echo Catherine, Angelina Jolie, Ivanka Trump, and different Hollywood figures depending on whatever image she seems to be building in that season. And the harsh argument is this: when you spend too much energy channeling someone else, you never fully create a style identity of your own.
I had 2 sources tell me that she took the dress, but one source was saying that she did not ask, which is very...
Is redefining royal fashion and at a hefty price, $1 million is the day she gave Prince Harry's fiancée.
But many say the Diana shirt was in a category all by itself, because this wasn't just inspired by. Critics called it an almost exact replica of the shirt Diana wore in her final photo shoot, the last photos ever taken of her. And that's why reactions got so strong. People asked, how do you even find something like that by accident? You'd have to study the original image, track down a near match, or have one recreated. Either way, people saw intention. Some called it sad, some called it dark, others said it felt deeply out of touch. And whether fair or not, it fed a bigger criticism, that she brings reflection instead of originality. And in fashion, originality is everything. Designers want partners who bring a point of view the world hasn't seen before, a look that feels theirs. Critics argue Meghan doesn't offer that. Instead, she presents a very expensive, very polished reflection of things people have already seen. And reflections, they say, don't sell clothes, don't build lasting partnerships, and don't keep doors open. Number 3, radio silence. Because in fashion, What happens after you wear the clothes can matter just as much as the clothes themselves. The Instagram tag, the interview mention, the press shout-out. For a small British label, being credited by a globally photographed Duchess could mean overnight sellouts and international attention. Critics say Meghan hasn't consistently delivered that kind of support. They point to interviews discussing her looks with no designer mention.
Like you have some sort of a weird shelf in this like weird droopy umbrella is what it reminds me of. Like a weird umbrella. You don't want that on your outfit. Also, she should have worn a smoothing garment. You know, you're being photographed on a day like this. You don't want your belly button on display for the history books, okay? It shouldn't be showing through in a really classy dress like this.
Coverage centered on her style while creatives stay invisible, and that has frustrated some in fashion circles. Then people compare it to Catherine, where appearances are often tagged quickly, boutiques get named, pieces sell out before photos finish circulating, and designers reportedly compete for the chance to dress her because the return feels guaranteed. To be fair, supporters point out Meghan's more recent investment in shopping platform collaborations has credited outfits more consistently. Whether that reflects real long-term support for designers or something more strategic, critics say the debate is still very much alive. Or maybe a revenue split, which critics say could work out very nicely for her too. Either way, the fashion world is watching and reserving judgment. Number 2, critics say she doesn't listen. In fashion, almost everyone who lasts long-term is coachable. They have opinions, sure, they push back when needed, but they leave room for people who know things they don't. That's how style evolves. But multiple insiders have described Meghan as someone who allegedly overrides professional advice, ignores alteration guidance, and, according to one especially sharp account, sometimes blames the clothes when the look doesn't land. That criticism has followed her for years. Former royal stylist Caroline Holden put it bluntly. Meghan lets the clothes do the talking instead of her figure, and critics say that's the problem. The clothes dominate and she disappears inside them. What makes this hit harder is what she herself once said. Back in 2015, before the royal spotlight, while still on suits and buying clothes on an actress's budget, she gave an interview saying, word for word, "The most important thing you can do is tailoring.
If you are in the public eye, and especially if you're in a privileged position, it's just appropriate. Like it or not, we judge with our eyes first. We just do. It's how our brains are wired. And I don't mean looking down on someone or treating someone differently because of how they look, or because of their body shape or type or weight or features or how pretty or young that they are or anything like that. I'm just talking about how we instantaneously notice how someone is presenting themselves to us, and we take all that info in visually without even meaning to. Dressing well, grooming, and good hygiene can make or break a first impression. It's just a fact.
If it fits you to a T, you look 1,000,000 times better. She knew it. She said, "It on camera." And critics point out the irony. After getting access to some of the best tailoring in the world, they say that discipline seemed to vanish, and that leads to number 1, the finish. Because critics say everything on this list, the wrinkles, the wrong fabrics, dragging hems, shoes that don't fit, visible underlayers, improvised fixes, all of it traces back to one thing: finishing details, that smoothing layer under a dress, the hem checked one last time, shoes that actually fit, hair styled for the occasion. The quiet polish of someone who knows every detail is working. That's what transforms a modest dress into luxury, or makes expensive fashion look shockingly cheap. People often say it's the difference between a £200 dress looking like £2,000 and a £2,000 dress looking like £20. And that's why critics keep coming back to the spending. Reports cited enormous clothing budgets, including published figures often repeated in media. Numbers so large, people argue they remove every excuse. Yet critics still point to visible lines under formal wear at press events, shoes straining at the straps, midi dresses dragging on the ground, coats hanging open in winter. And to them, that says the issue was never money. It was always the finish. One comment absolutely cut deep.
Overall, it does look just a little bit messy with the various jaunty stripes and the ruffles. It's definitely a beach dress. This is that she's trying to look modern and effortless, but the lack of polish stands out and kind of overshadows the whole.
Never seen someone who just looks terrible in clothes. They never fit right. Brutal. And critics say that's exactly where the fashion world's frustration comes in, because they argue the finish isn't about money. It isn't about access. It's about caring enough to get the details right every single time. No exceptions. And some say that, even more than the borrowing controversies, the wrong brand associations, or the uninvited appearance stories, is what fashion insiders struggle to forgive. Because mistakes happen. Everyone has bad days. Even style icons miss sometimes. But critics argue when the details are consistently, repeatedly, expensively wrong. It starts looking less like accidents and more like choices, and they say the industry has clocked that. One harsh criticism keeps coming up. Meghan seems more focused on having the dress than on how it actually looks when she walks into the room. And in fashion, especially at high-stakes events photographed around the world, critics say that's unforgivable. Because fashion's obsession with the finish isn't some optional extra. It isn't a bonus detail if there's time left over. It is the job. And critics argue that's the one thing, across years and millions reportedly spent, she has struggled to deliver. So, we've covered 10 reasons the fashion world, according to critics, has felt let down. Used, frustrated, and in some cases quietly ghosted.
Because she has her stupid bra flapping around in our faces. It's just all you see when you look at this outfit. It literally looks like a cookie cutter on her chest. It's so strange. And even if she had a smooth underlayer, this particular dress is too tight for her.
But that was the why. Now let's get into the what. The 10 worst outfits she has ever worn. The looks that made fashion people wince. The outfits that had comment sections all saying the same thing. And exactly what critics say went wrong in every single case, because every fashion disaster carries a lesson, even the spectacular ones. And trust me, number 1 is wild. You are not prepared. Number 10, the Smart Works coat, reportedly £2,600 when critics tore it apart. 3 sizes too big, no buttons, wrinkled beyond rescue, a t-shirt dress underneath, in January. Then the cow print shoes critics said looked too large for her feet. One comment compared the whole look to an unmade bed, and that line spread everywhere. To critics, it wasn't just one bad coat. It became a symbol of everything they say goes wrong: fit, proportion, occasion, finish, all missing at once. And that's why this look still lands on almost every worst-dressed list. Lesson number 1, a coat lives and dies by the shoulders. If the shoulders are off, nothing else can save it. Not the fabric, not the price tag, not the label. Once that structure is wrong, the whole look can collapse. Number 9, the bereaved parents event. Critics pointed to mismatched creams and whites clashing against each other.
At everything all at once. What was that show or that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once? That's what this outfit is. This is what it is. We've got buttons, a belt that's huge and floppy, a crossbody bag, lots of bracelets and jewelry, a blazer just over the shoulders, not on, and strappy shoes, and stripes. So much happening, and an awkward slit.
An overdramatic folded off-the-shoulder detail and styling they felt pulled focus at an event centered on grieving families. One reaction called it unbelievably tasteless, and that criticism spread fast. The lesson: ask what the room needs before asking what you want to wear. Those are 2 very different questions. Number 8, the midi, dress that turned into a ball gown disaster. Designed to hit above the ankle, but landing on the floor. Critics noticed extra fabric bunching at the back, saying the torso proportions looked off for how the dress was cut. Then 4 black accessories, white lining, disconnected styling. Some said nothing spoke to anything else. One comment summed it up as looking like dress up. Harsh. But the lesson is real. Know your torso length. It affects where every seam, dart and waistband lands. And when those hit wrong, the whole silhouette can go sideways. Number 7, ball gown at the movie theatre. A sweeping formal gown at a casual cinema screening had critics stunned. Spaghetti strap styling underneath, proportions widening the shoulders, waistband sitting too high, fabric pooling, and many felt the look had zero relationship to the setting. That's the lesson. Overdressing can miss the mark just as badly as underdressing. Same mistake, different direction. Number 6, the spaghetti strap leadership panel look. This one brought serious backlash. Professional panel. Press photographers everywhere. And critics argued the fabric offered no structure, no smoothing layer, with every line showing harshly on camera. Then the spaghetti straps sparked debate, with some saying they felt completely wrong for the setting. And the lesson? Dress codes protect your message. Ignore them, and suddenly the clothes become the headline. Number 5, the Diana shirt. Still one of the most talked about looks. An outfit critics called an almost exact echo of the shirt Diana wore in her final photo shoot. Paired casually with wrinkled black trousers, many said boxed out her shape completely. Reactions ranged from unsettled to outright stunned.
Could you put anything else on this dress to make it any worse? The bag is so awkward. Why did she do that? Why? You know, this makes me understand exactly why the Queen did not like crossbody bags. I never used to understand that. I used to be like, well, I guess I don't really get why. You know, I wear crossbody bags all the time, but that's because I need to be able to chase after my little kids and pick them up without my bag flopping around. When I have a crossbody bag on, it stays still while I do all of those things. So I choose those for practical reasons. They're not the most attractive to wear for an outfit always. I mean, like sometimes, and they're casual. Like that's what they are. They're casual. So here, this is just horrible. Like, let me ask you this. Do you ever see women on the red carpet for like the Oscars wearing a crossbody bag? No. No, you don't. You see them carrying a clutch because that is what you do for nice things.
One critic called it sad. Others called it dark. Some simply said, strange. And the lesson? Every outfit says something. Make sure you know what your clothes are saying before you walk out the door. Number 4, the messy everything day. This one looked to critics like every element was fighting every other element. A symmetrical hem hanging below a designer coat. Coat lifting strangely at the shoulders. Shirt loose over a skirt. Nude shoes with an all-black look. Hair people mocked as looking like the appointment got cancelled. And the brutal criticism? Designer coat, B-team outfit, still looks cheap. The lesson here is huge. Every outfit needs one center of gravity. One focal point, one anchor. When everything competes for attention, nothing wins. And when everything competes, nothing wins. And critics say nude shoes with black. Never the answer. Number 3, the strapless and the bra strap disaster. This look had people stunned. Critics said the original strapless design already felt questionable for the setting, and then came the improvised fix, a bra strap looped around the neck, and that's the moment many said the whole thing collapsed. The structured top fought her shape, the bodice looked boxy and squared off, proportions felt wrong, and the whole outfit, critics argued, looked thrown together in a panic. One comment said it looked like something a teenager would assemble at the last second. Harsh, but memorable. And that leads to the lesson. Improvisation almost never saves an outfit. If something isn't working, the answer usually isn't to force a fix. It's a different outfit. Number 2, everything, everywhere, all at once. This look was pure overload, according to critics. Stripes going in 3 directions, a loose belt, angled slit pocket, blazer, mismatched crossbody bag, stacked bracelets, strappy shoes, hair down, every element demanding attention at the same time. And when the blazer came off, critics even noticed tabs hanging from the shoulder straps. One reaction said, if you put this on a supermodel, it would still look chaotic. That's how deep the criticism ran. Lesson: get dressed, then take one thing off, then maybe another. Because the best dressed women in the world are often wearing less than people think. Simplicity reads expensive.
They took a woman's assets, her figure, and just made it all worse. Hid everything good and made everything worse. Is what this looks like. Since when is that fashion goals? Inverted nipple cups. Nightmare fuel. Poof at the belly. Who doesn't want to look like they have a beer belly in an evening gown? Wrinkles. Everywhere. As if this dress didn't have enough disasters. The high slit and the plunge are competing with each other, and they're creating a widening effect because they're drawing the eye straight to the bulge in the middle, and then everything else just looks wide from there. It's widening the shoulder line, the width of the straps, and the angle that the straps are going is further encouraging you to view her shoulder line as even wider than it is.
And now, number 1, the red Carolina Herrera. For some critics, not even close, the worst outfit she has ever worn. The colour, stunning, truly gorgeous. But critics say everything else went wrong. The chest darts pulled the wrong direction, a faux bustle added width at the back, high slit and deep plunge competing for attention at once, straps angled outward, broadening the frame, waist sitting too high, shortening an already short torso, wrinkling, puckering, pulling through the fabric. Even critics pointed to the severe slicked-back bun and sharp liner, saying nothing in the look softened the effect. And then there was the occasion, worn to an event honouring military veterans, that made reactions even stronger. Because critics say, once you see that lipstick red gown in that setting, you can't unsee it. Some called it nightmare fuel. Others said it perfectly summarised every problem we've talked about today. Fit issues, proportion mistakes, occasion mismatch, and missing finish all in one look, and the lesson here is huge. Critics often say broad shoulders and a short torso benefit from V-necks, A-lines, defined waists, shapes that elongate and balance. This dress, they argue, did the exact opposite, all at once, under flashbulbs honouring veterans. That's why for many, it lands at number 1. 10 reasons, 10 outfits. And honestly, narrowing this down was the hardest part, because I already know some of you are typing the ones we left out. The shorts at Invictus, the brown pyjama trousers in Colombia, the backless dress at a school in Nigeria. We saw those comments. We hear you. Now it's your turn. Which outfit made your jaw drop the most? And which one did we leave off that absolutely deserved a spot on this list? Drop it in the comments right now. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and share it with friends.